In today's episode, we meet a Sikh mother whose journey through adoption led her to embrace love beyond cultural lines. She opens up about the deeply personal balance between honouring her Sikh faith and welcoming a child from a different heritage into her heart and home. With honesty and compassion, she shares her initial fears, how her choice might be seen by her community, and how through openness and love she found not judgment, but support and inspiration. We'll hear how she's nurturing her daughter's identity by creating space to explore many cultures while staying grounded in her own spiritual values. So, Sunny, when did you decide to adopt?
So, I always had it in my heart that I wanted to adopt from, say, like in my early 30s. That was even if I had my own birth children. But, it's then the fact of meeting someone who has the same wants and needs as you.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me, when a relationship ended in my early 40s, I felt quite lost. I felt, that the need of being a mom was very important to me, and it's something that I really wanted in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I was going through a very tough period in my life, thinking, kind of dealing with the loss of being a mom and going through the transition of struggling with the acceptance of not giving birth.
Yeah.
So I think, it was an accumulation of quite a lot of things. And, kind of, I think I came to a standstill a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only until I think at that point I saw other people around me, some of my closest friends adopting. So it gave me a little bit more inspiration. But because of the fact that I was still on my own, I didn't think it was doable. So it almost became like, well, yes, it's a want, but can it be a reality?
Mm-hmm.
Then I was speaking to my sister and, kind of, what does she think? And she was the one that actually then kind of gave me that push in order to start researching and thinking about maybe going to some open events.
Yeah.
So, she kind of gave me that, push in the right direction to start thinking of, well, look, the reality, you're not getting any younger. If you want to do it, now is the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I did was I then, kind of researched on some local adoption agencies and the council, visited about three, I think it was, and, kind of then decided, just to go with adoption focus at the time. I think I went to the meeting. Lee, I don't know whether I think it was yourself there as well.
It was?
Yes. And, just spoke to you about the fears that I had about being a single adopter. And, you kind of just reassured me that it's not the right thing to do, but 'cause you don't know that, but just,
Mm-hmm.
kind of it's the right thing to explore.
I'm
So
so glad you did.
I'm really glad I did. And, I was very scared, excited at the same time, anxious. I didn't know what the process was going to bring. I heard some, what shall I say, some not so nightmare stories, but, kind of, negative and positive
Mm-hmm.
stories. So, but I think I needed to explore it for myself.
What was that like, the process for you? And I guess, how did it feel approaching it as a single adopter?
So, it was a bit of a taboo subject, to be fair, and I was very scared of openly talking about it to people um, in my family and my friends, other than the people that I knew I had confidence in speaking to them about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scared of being judged,
Yeah.
to be honest, especially coming from an Asian background, because obviously having a partner is very important in our culture. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, it was to me as well.
Mm. Yeah.
But at the same time, the needs of being a mom was also very, very important to me,
Mm-hmm.
within my culture and spiritually as well. And I think literally it did sound scary, but I did a lot of research. I did a lot of research on financially as well, how it would look, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that was really important. I asked the right questions and got advice of my friends as well who had adopted, and they gave me advice on, kind of going with an agency or a council, which, to be honest, I didn't really know the difference at the time.
Uh-huh.
No, but I also knew that the difficulty is being from a Sikh background as well. I think at the time I was very naive. I was
Okay.
hooked on wanting to have a child who was at least maybe a mixed race child from a Sikh heritage. But then I quickly soon realised that they are quite unique,
Okay.
shall I say.
Yeah.
So I decided to go with adoption focus due to the fact that they were nationwide.
Yeah.
Rather than the council, you can only adopt a child who is from that particular council.
Hmm. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. And they're grappling with a lot there, really. I think even at the start of the process,
Yeah, I agree.
conflicting feelings.
I think so. I think also when you haven't got the person to make
Yeah.
these really important decisions with as well, I had to rely on very close friends and family in order to make the decision, and also work. I had to,
Okay.
speak to work when,
Yeah.
again, I think it's one of them. It's a personal thing, but you have to actually speak to your work because you need to know whether you've got that support in place,
Hmm.
before you go through the process. But luckily for me, work were very supportive as well.
What was the assessment process like for you? Somebody coming out and getting to know you. Was it how you expected? Was it better? Was it worse?
Um, they were really nice, to be fair. I think it was one of them where you're going to be nervous anyway. You know, somebody's coming round to interview you, judge your house, see whether it's suitable for a child. And it's not like when you've just got pregnant and you've decided to, kind of your family's going to change.
Yeah.
It was literally I had to make adjustments, to my apartment, which is what I lived where I was living at the time, and everything's judged at the time, from your furniture, where your TV is, where you need to have your safety locks, etc. Um, and also it was about me, and I've never in my life had such a deep interview about myself. So I think that was quite scary as well at the same time, and to actually open up about me, about why I wanted to adopt.
Hmm.
Now I feel I can openly and confidently speak about that, but at the time, because I was still dealing with my emotions,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
quite tough to speak about why I wanted to adopt.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, they made me feel really comfortable, and it was an easy process. The first initial process was quite easy.
Good. And then you were approved,
I was.
and now you've got a little family at home. Can you tell me about your little family at home? What does that look like?
Okay. So it's just me and my daughter. We've moved from the apartment that we were in because we felt two women, well, two females, sorry, said women. Even even though she's like a 21-year-old, a 3-year-old coming on to 21. There was too much stuff for us both. Clothes, our wardrobes were full, and toys everywhere. So we decided to move. Not too far, it was literally down the road, and I knew it was going to be tough for my daughter at the beginning. Just to have that change again.
Yeah.
But she coped very well. After about 3 weeks, she kind of settled in quite well into the new house. We live a very happy life. We try and get out to the outdoors quite a lot. She loves exploring. She's very, very sociable. So I don't have the issue of when I'm out, because I'm very sociable. I've got a very big family, a very wide circle of friends, and Ava does adapt quite well to any situation that she's actually put in. She's very popular for the right reasons. Um, and literally loves dancing, loves a party. Yeah, so we're very happy. She's really settled, very resilient little girl, who just really just gets on with it.
And that, I think that's because she's got the safety and the security of you to feel like she can go and explore the world because she's got somebody safe to come back.
Yeah, thank you. And the thing is, I think Ava's built up a lot of confidence since she's been here. I mean, I remember when I first saw Ava, in when I went to go and see her at the foster carers, she's always been confident. She
Wow.
knew she knew what she wanted, and she's very cheeky as well. So I kind of knew what I was letting myself in for at the first instant when I saw her. To be fair, very sassy little madam. So yeah, yeah,
I bet that was just incredible seeing her that first time at the foster carers.
it was. And I mean, at the time when I went to go and see Ava,
Hmm.
it was tough because I think a couple of months before that, I was still overcoming a match which had failed.
Okay, it's really hard.
So
Yeah,
I think I was very apprehensive.
of course.
I didn't want to get overly excited,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I needed to be because I wanted it to work.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and I was actually very open and honest with the social worker at the time. And yeah, I just fell in love with her as soon as I saw her, to be honest.
Oh, and it was
Yeah,
meant to be.
it was meant to be, and it happened very quick. So it was literally within 3 months, Ava was placed with me.
Wow.
Yes. I was in Alton Towers on a school trip when I found out that they said yes. Yeah, I still remember the day. I don't look back at all. She's absolutely amazing, and she's brought lots of joy to me, and not just myself, sorry, to be honest, to my whole family, who absolutely adore her. And she's built some really close bonds with specific members of my family.
Oh, bless.
And yeah, I mean, she loves her nan, my nieces and nephews, and she's very loving. And the way people describe her is very much um angelic. She's got a very good aura. She's very infectious with her energy as well. Yeah, so she's absolutely amazing and great.
What was it about Ava that made you think I could be her mum? And how did you think you'd meet her race or cultural needs? Did that form any part of your thinking?
At the time, I was on Linkmaker,
Hmm.
and I remember sitting with my social worker at the time, and I'd just got back from a trip from India.
Okay.
And it was one of these moments where, um, as I just mentioned before, I was dealing with like a failed match, if that's what you want to call it, yeah. And I needed to build my confidence back up in, looking for another child. And my social worker was very good at, Sonny, you can do this. This is for you, And I
Hmm.
think I needed that trip away just to take myself away from adoption, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
of course.
Family finding, everything. Um, and going to India, I think I'm very spiritual, so it was one of these trips which was more of a healing trip,
Yeah,
if that
it
makes
does.
sense.
It does.
And visited one of my favorite places in the world, which is um, something that's quite close to my religion and my heart, which is Amritsar, Golden Temple.
Oh.
And I came back just feeling a little bit more refreshed, but still had that, I'm not going to find the right child.
Mhm.
And I remember having this conversation with, my social worker at the time. And she came over and she's like, right, we're going on Linkmaker and we're going to have a look. And I said, I want a girl. I said, I think I want a girl. And she says, well, what about, is it important that this child is, Sikh? And I says, no, no, not anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I'm open. And there was three particular girls I remember that we looked at. And I just saw this little girl giggling like anything on this video. And it was the most cutest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Mhm.
Yeah, she had these chubby cheeks, these big eyes, which were absolutely beautiful. And all I knew was I wanted that girl to be my girl.
Oh,
Yes.
that's
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah, and it was just this infectious laugh because I think I played that video about 100 times.
Really?
Yeah, and every photo I was just drawn, to this little girl. And I said, Lynette, no, can you please contact them? Can you please contact them straight away? And and it was really weird because at that time I knew Ava wasn't the same heritage as me, but it just wasn't. I wasn't interested in that. And they actually said to me, "Thank you, but no, thank you," because somebody else is interested in this little girl
Oh
at the
my
time.
goodness.
So I was like, oh, okay, felt a bit disappointed. But then
Yeah.
they said, look, if anything changes, we'll let you know. We 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 also linked a few other different children,
Hmm.
and one of them, to be fair, which was from my background, um, but I think on the same, and then a month later, I says to my social worker, "Have you heard anything back?" And she said, "No, but do you want me to contact them?" And I said, "Yes." And it was the best thing she ever did
Oh.
because I think it was exactly a month after, and they said, "Oh, that one didn't work out, and we want to speak to Sunny."
Really?
And that was it. Within a week, they interviewed me, and she became my little girl. As you said, it was meant to be. And in terms of meeting Ava's identity needs, um, at present she's very young,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, so I'm still working on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At the moment, I feel as if the most important thing is was just allow her to feel settled and loved and in a caring family. Yeah, and I do show her pictures,
Hmm.
of her family, her foster carer, which I think is really important. Not, and I do talk to her about her background.
Hmm.
But in terms of, further progress on that, I think I'm probably going to wait until she's a little bit older, until she can understand that. And, you know, we, she does go to the temple with me. Um, so her identity, is similar to mine at the moment.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it
Your
does.
family. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
and she
And
does. And with myself, I mean, I have friends from all races and backgrounds, and Ava's picked up on quite a lot of that. So even though we've got our identity and I've got
hmm.
mine, Ava, is allowed to explore, you know, um, her specific identity as well in little chunks.
Yeah.
But as she gets older, I think that's when it will develop a lot more.
But I think just allowing like space and making opportunities to explore, to understand, that's, all you could ever want for a child, isn't it? To
It
be able
is,
to see.
and I just think the main priority for me was just to allow her to feel confident and happy and establish her new family.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ava sees it as her new family. I think she sees it as her family because she's very young to understand.
And she's definitely established herself, hasn't she?
Ah,
She's
without a
there.
doubt, she's made her mark. She's made her mark on this family. Yeah, yeah, she
What I
has.
think is so lovely, like listening to you, Sonny, is that all these things, these thoughts or these feelings that were really conflicting and were not a barrier to you adopting because you wanted to be a mum, but were thoughts you had, like adoption being a taboo subject and being a bit worried about people receiving that and wanting at first to consider, a cultural match or a religious match. All of those things, once you found your daughter, really didn't matter as much.
No, it didn't at all. And I would never change that. But I think I had to go through that process in order to find my match.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember when I first went back to the adoption process, when I was getting, you know, going to panel, sorry,
Hmm.
um, I said, oh no, I think it is a little bit important,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
again, I think it was because I didn't know any different. I think part of me was like, oh, I want to give a child who is Sikh another family. Are you with
Hmm.
me? Another
I
chance with a
am.
Sikh family and keep their identity.
Yeah.
And that would have
Makes
been
sense.
absolutely amazing if that, did
Yeah.
happen. But that wasn't meant to be for me. Um, but at the same time, I do think, to be open in this process, and I say that to anybody else who, from a different background, who
Mhm.
is going into the process, to keep an open mind,
Yeah.
because all a child needs, it doesn't matter what background they are from, is a safe environment to grow and to flourish. And if you can offer that, then it shouldn't really matter.
Cute.
Yeah. Um, and that's me talking from experience, because I think,
Mhm.
as I said, I was in that frame of mind at one point,
Mhm.
but I had to grow within myself and through the adoption process in order to understand that it actually does not matter. Yeah.
And to become the parent that you are today.
Yes. And the thing is, she's picked up on my language. You know, she loves Indian music. It's one of her favorites. She loves, you know, the food. She likes all types of food, and that would have been the same if it was a child who was Sikh. Are you with
Mhm.
me?
Yeah.
So, it's a learning process, and and I go back to the point of all they need is a loving family.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what Ava's got.
and that's what Ava's got. Yeah, yeah, and opportunities is another one. I think opportunities for a child who is from an adopted background is really, really important. Yeah, yeah.
And she's got
And
plenty of those.
yeah, she's got plenty of opportunities when her mum's not tired. It can get quite tough, if I'm totally honest, at times. But and the thing is, in all fairness, she's there are specific people in the family that will offer her those opportunities as well. I'm being a bit selfish, so I'm saying it's just me that does that. There is other people in the
No.
family that do
No.
that as well.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course. But it takes more than one person or two people to raise a child, doesn't it?
Oh,
It's a collective effort.
it's
So,
the way I see it. It takes a community. It does take a community to raise a child, and I'm a great believer. I'm quite traditional in that sense. Um, and they learn from other people, and I think that's really important. And even though it is just me and her in our little family, there is the extended family that she's very aware of. Yeah. So yeah, and as I said, I wouldn't look back. There was a lot of, you mentioned about barriers, and I would call them
mhm,
barriers, because as a single adopter, it's not the same as being a single parent. And people often do confuse that. And what used to frustrate me is when I used to raise my anxieties and fears with um, parents who were single.
mhm.
They would say, "Oh, yeah, but we understand, we do it," and it's like not really the same thing,
No, it's not the
because
same.
um, well, majority, to be fair, because of the fact that you are the only one that's bringing the income. You are the only one that's putting them to bed. You are the only one that is seeing to them when they are ill. You can't share those responsibilities. Like I, I can't say, well, Ava's going to go and stay with her dad for 2 days. Are you with me?
No,
It,
I
it's
am.
very full on.
Yeah.
It's a very, very full on, full time job.
Mhm.
Um, and then you're a full time mom. You're a full time um employee. You're the cleaner. You're everything. You're all of it. And it's just making sure you are prepared for that.
Yeah.
But it's doable. It's doable.
You just
Yeah.
have to want to do it, don't
You
you?
just have to want to do it, yeah. And don't be afraid of not getting it right.
Yeah. Nobody expects perfection. Oh my
No,
goodness.
because I think I was at times, and I
I get that.
part, you'd feel like a failure, but people reassured me that, married couples have the same, kind of, what's the word, issues, like kind of, the where their energy is low, but they can feed off each other. Whereas when you are a single adopter, it's just yourself. But you've got to have ways of picking yourself back up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when you've spent so long knowing that this is a real need of yours to be a parent, You do place such unrealistic expectations of what that
Patience.
should look like.
Yeah, you're right. And, and I'm sure when I was going through the process, I'm sure there was things I said I'd do. And, the list has gone out the window, to be honestly. Yeah. So I think it's one of them where you kind of you've got to go with the flow, and you don't know what mood that child is going to be on that day. You don't know what they're going to be like when they're on a plane, when you're on your own. It's, it's just unpredictable. It really is.
But
But
you're in it together.
you're in it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what, I mean, you already started to touch on it, I think, and there's a lot that people could take. But what messages would you give to adopters from racial and minoritized ethnic groups who want to adopt and maybe are worried about that taboo, like you said, or are considering adopting a child from a different race or culture to theirs? What messages would you give them, Sunny?
Um, my messages one of my main messages is, kind of, feel the fear and do it anyway. About 3 or 4 years ago, one of my best friends gave me a book, which was actually called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I hope I've got that right. Yeah. And I've got to be honest, I did read this book, and I kind of live off that at the moment. It's just very much like, um, talk to people, do your research. There is a lot of children out there now that are from an Asian background who do need, kind of good and safe homes with, caring parents. And also, when I did adopt and the community found out, and I was very scared at the time, I remember, it almost became like, wow, we didn't know you could do this, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, and the feedback and the warmth I've had from my community. I'm like, the temple is very important to me, and it's almost become like, in our culture and in Sikhism, it, it's almost a good deed. Are you with me?
Yeah. Yeah,
In
yeah.
terms of, the way culture sees it, and good deeds come through different ways and different forms. Adoption, is a perfect thing for that, if that makes sense. So what I would say is that it brings so much to a child, and it changes their life. So, it's really definitely so important to explore it and see what it can bring for you and your family as well. If you are from an Asian background, don't be fixed on the culture of the child.
Hmm.
Be fixed on what you want to offer that child.
A huge thank you to Sunny for spending time with us today. This conversation was such a beautiful reminder that love doesn't have to fit into neat boxes, and that opening your heart to someone from a different background can actually deepen your own sense of identity. Hearing how Sunny is blending cultures while staying rooted in her faith was both moving and inspiring. It's not always easy, but her story shows how powerful it can be to lead with love and trust that your community might just surprise you. If this episode touched you, we'd love it if you shared it with someone or left us a quick review. And if you have a story of your own to tell, please do let us know. You can contact us via our email, which is podcast@adoption-focus.org.uk. Thanks for listening.